The art of selling. In any job, you are going to need sales skills, what it really takes to get great sales. What is the quality of sales like at the moment in 2024? We need to have a really good sit down about your sales skills. Hey players, listen, I'm here to help you achieve your financial goals. And I've got to say, the quality of sales training out there at the moment that I see, especially on social media, it's more like it's designed just to capture and get likes. It's not talking about what it really takes to get great sales into any business or to your pocket as well as a salesperson. I'm not a salesperson, Lewis. I'm not a salesperson. Listen to the A Players podcast. Look, everybody's selling. You're always selling. From when you were a child, you were selling. You were selling to your parents. Walk around the supermarket. You pick up a ball out of a basket. You got to sell to your parents that you want that toy. You want that ball to play with, right? When you was a child, you would have seen some candy or something, or sweets if you're in the UK, and you would have had to have sold to your parents. So sales is natural. Sales is natural. So what happens? What happens? Well, we go through life and we start to meet bad salespeople, or we see people nowadays on social media talking about all these sales hacks and sales tricks. And all it does is make sales worse, right? Sales isn't a bad thing. Sales is really about coaching somebody to a decision, whether it's right for them or not. And the way it's gone lately, especially with social media, is that you've got to learn these psychology hacks or these psychology tricks. It's just frustrating. It's so frustrating. So today I'm going to give you some ethical ways of selling. And guess what? It's not just about that next sales hack. There is a lot more to it as well. It's to do with your psychology and the communication that you use. So stay tuned and I'll give you these tips. So A players, welcome to the podcast, the A Players and the 100K Club podcast. So I'm your host and I'm here to help you reach new financial goals in any job. Okay. Now, in any job, you are going to need sales skills. But Lewis, I'm an accountant, or I'm a teacher, or I'm an electrician. Look, no matter what you do, you need to be convincing people. So change the word sales, because it probably isn't doing you any good to be thinking, I'm a salesperson. If you love sales, great. We want to get to a place where you understand that sales is not a bad thing. Sales is a good thing. Yeah? Because without sales, think about history. Think about the politicians that have done great. I know there's a lot of dodgy ones out there as well, but there are some good leaders in the world as well. Yeah, like Martin Luther King, for example. Yeah, he had to convince a whole group, a whole nation. Yeah, there's a lot more leaders as well. If you think about just through history, any leader has had to be a good salesperson, because when you're dealing with a human being to another human being, you've got to get sales involved. There's sales and communication. Yeah. One of my businesses, my old sales manager does fantastic in operations. And he's a fantastic operations manager now, going places. Why? Because he uses the sales skills, his communication skills in working with people in operations. So he can manage 40 plus people. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's leadership, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, whether it's operations, no matter what you do in any business, teaching kids, whether it's being a doctor, because you need to convince them that they're going to be safe under the knife, or convince them that these are the right pharmaceutical products for them, or this is the right procedure that they should be taking. If you're a personal trainer, guess what? You don't just need to sell for clients, you need to sell that client that this is the best thing for them to do and stop eating fucking cake if they want to get the results that they want. See, it's all sales. Now, if we think sales is bad, guess what? What's the likelihood you're actually going to ever want to carry out any form of sales training or step into sales. Now, think of it from a business perspective. Without sales, nobody gets paid. There is no cash flow. Without sales, nobody gets recruited. Because when you recruit somebody, I know there might be a lot of one-man bands listening to this right now, but you're going to scale. And as you scale, you've got to start to sell not just to external customers, but to internal customers as well. Internal customers being your staff. And once they're on board, you're going to have to lead them. You're going to have to get them working, doing stuff, delegating some of the tasks from you and hiring people and getting them to do an effective job. Selling. So it's all sales. So we've got to get rid of this bullshit out of our head. Now, here's the main point of the podcast. What is the quality of sales like at the moment in 2024? Well, if you think about sales training, I've spent some well-known sales gurus, American sales gurus, I won't say the names of the podcast, but I've been on the sales training courses. And in all honesty, it's pretty basic. It's pretty basic compared to what it actually takes in the real world. Now, their staff are fantastic at selling. Now, also remember as well, selling in different countries is also a variable that we need to bear in mind. For example, a lot of sales that you start to see, especially with the way Western society is, it tends to be led by American sales. Yeah. British sales in the UK, a lot different. Australian sales, when I lived in Australia, a lot different again. If you're working in any Asian country as well, of course, it's all different again. So European, Africa, no matter where you are in the world, right? You've got to understand how sales work differently. So teaching hacks that you see on YouTube, I know this is on YouTube as well, but teaching hacks to say, do this and you will get this result and it's the game changer in sales isn't doing you any help, okay? But there is some underpinning for it. I'll explain that in a while. Here's some of the worst things that I hear in sales, especially from American influencers. Always be closing. Always be closing. Well, look, it's not closing. The only person that enjoys fucking closing are the top pushy salespeople. It's not about closing. You got to think about them. Yeah, put them in mind. What do they want, the customer? Does the customer want to be closed? Think about it. Nobody wants to be closed. However, what they do want is change. So change the word close to the word change. What they want is change. Otherwise, they wouldn't be speaking to you in the first place. So what you need to do, and this is going to go a whole deeper. In fact, this could be a whole podcast series about talking about sales because I'm extremely passionate about it. And being an organizational psychologist as well, I love what the different variables are of how that can start to implement different sales strategies as well. Even the word sales strategy, you've got to have a process, a process. But sales is an art. Sales is an art, not just following a process. So you do need the steps, but the real salespeople know the art of sales, what to do when things start to... See, humans aren't generic. As soon as you put a human into any equation, you need that art of working with the human. And if you don't practice, you won't ever get that art. Think about it. An artist, you can't just give a child a piece of paper and expect them to create a fantastic piece of art. They need to get the crayons and the paint and have a go and try it out and stick it up on the fucking fridge and see what it's like first and experience, that's some great art there. And then they'll start to appreciate the work of art. Now, in sales, if you don't appreciate the art of selling, then guess what? You're never going to want to increase your skills in it. You're never going to want to try it. You're never going to want to learn about it. You're never going to actually go out there and be persistent with it, okay? So, the art of selling. Following a great process is key, yeah? But following it and being able to adapt to that person, because humans aren't generic, okay? Now, selling business to business or business to consumer, it makes no difference. You aren't selling business to business or business to consumer. You're selling human to human, okay? Human to human, all the time. So make it human. This thing about closing then, what is it? What should we be doing? Always be closing. No, we always want to be committing to an action or a step, right? Because if they're not committing to a step, they're not helping themselves and you're not helping you, okay? So there's nothing wrong with wanting to get a commitment. The challenge is how you as a salesperson is actually positioning that. Thank you for listening to the podcast so far. A quick reminder that the A Players podcast and community remains free. The reason we do this podcast is because I believe that a great question to ask is, what advice would you give your younger self? For me, I wish I had a guide that showed me the exact steps to reach 100k a year in any job, and how much my life would be accelerated if I'd cut through that noise and just focused on those steps. We do not run ads or endorse sponsors because it is our mission to give back and share with you, the listener, knowledge gained from working with highly successful individuals and extensive research in management science, so that everyone has access to tools that can accelerate their income and give them the opportunity to step into wealth. In line with allowing us to achieve that mission, we ask that you think about, how did you end up on this podcast today? Maybe it was through finding it on YouTube or Spotify or word of mouth. So please help feed forward by subscribing to the podcast, and also share this podcast with another leader like you that you feel this podcast could really help out in helping them increase their personal income too. Let's get back to the show. So to position something in sales, it's to give people that outline, that process, that plan from the start, not keep it as some secret hack. Yeah, this would be a fantastic YouTube video if I was to just give the 10 top secret hacks from an organizational psychologist on how to get more sales. That would be a great hook, wouldn't it? But I'm not about that. I'm about giving you authenticity, right? The actual authentic part of this is, you need to show them that there's a process here. Who is the best person of helping them solve that problem? They probably had this problem one or twice in their life. You've seen it as a professional multiple times. Yeah. And if you've just started out in a business, you can be taught, or you can be mentored, or something can happen, some training program that will teach you the best process. So when you give somebody the process, how you position that process is key. Yeah. So to position that process, you need to show them that to get this best result, sir or madam, yeah, then this is the process that we use. Is it okay for me to take you through that process? Now, people will go, oh, Lewis, but you've just asked the yes or no question there. Well, here's another thing as well. Sometimes getting them to also say yes and agree to things is also, and that's no psychology fucking hack, right? Forget this psychology bullshit, the hacks. Now, psychology is key, but the hacks thing is it's just unauthentic. We don't want to do that. There is no manipulation involved at all. What we need to figure out is where they are at. Yeah. What is their mindset and their perspective of the world? Okay. So by getting them to agree to it, by saying yes and asking the question, first of all, they might be thinking no. Yeah. In sales, no matter how good you are not a mind reader. You are not a mind reader. So having a yes or no question can at least point you in the right direction. Is it okay if I show you a process to show you how the other people in this industry or other customers have also got the best result, looking like what you're after here, looking for what you're after? If they say no, then they go, okay, then what would be the best ways of doing this forward that fits in what you have in mind? Or if they say yes, then the first steps are then, okay, great. Here's how we go through step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. And by the end of those steps, you'll be able to make an informed decision whether this is the right thing to do or not. Does that sound fair enough? Yes. You see, so people say, oh, Lewis, don't ask these yes or no questions, right? Because the reason for that is that we want to ask open-ended questions when we're exploring. But sometimes having the yes and no question is exactly what we need as well. Now, look, we can go into plenty of things here, but what I'm trying to state here is that you've got a process for these people. And as long as you've got something that is authentically built to help people to get to the right decision, then that is real sales. Yeah. Real sales is coaching somebody to help them get to that right decision. So fuck all this stuff that you see on social media. But what did I have the other day? Someone was obviously joined someone's sales process. It wasn't positioned very well when I would give them a yes or no answer, or when I get started. And I had an email, what was it? I think it was a WhatsApp or something like that. And it said, Lewis, have you given up on doing this thing that you wanted to do? I'm like, that is like one of the worst things I've ever seen. Because I get it, that what they're trying to do and what the social media influencers have put out there is that ask this question as a follow-up, Lewis, have you given up on XYZ? Because it provokes emotion. But for me, I'm going, well, who are you to tell me if I've given up on this or not? Yeah, clearly I can see it is a sales strategy. Why do you need to be all authentic about it? When I was speaking to the person on the call initially, they weren't that sort of person. So then you can just see that it's scripted to take something from some social media influencer that isn't like them, and it becomes very unauthentic. So be yourself. Okay. There's the first step. Follow a process, make that process right for you, and then also create that art. Yeah. The art comes from learning more, listening to things like this, following the right podcasts around sales. And like I say, if this resonates with you, smash the like button on YouTube, leave a comment on Spotify, leave a comment on YouTube, and let me know if you want to get more sales information like this. Now, before I go, I'm going to give you a little bit more information as well, because this could just absolutely go into a huge, huge podcast series around ethical selling. And here's the thing, in the UK as well, we, the British people and Australians as well, have a bullshitometer. A bullshitometer. What that means is, as soon as there is an essence of bullshit, that person is switched off. So don't bullshit people. Stop using all this American rubbish. And nothing against Americans, by the way. I think some of the content that they have is great. It's just twisted in a way that wouldn't fit other nations. Yeah. So it needs to be understanding the art. Let that person make the decision that's right for them. Don't just take one generic sales pitch or one generic sales script and slam it down any customer's throat. It's never going to work. Ethical selling is always the right way. And it is also okay to lead someone to the decision that your product is not right for them as well. Yeah. Like I mentioned, I invest in a lot of businesses. I train my salespeople in a lot of businesses. And when it gets to a point where we go, actually, one of our competitors might be better off serving this person, then we go, hey, look, actually, this person has done a few jobs like this in the previous time. Go and have a chat with them and just get your knowledge, get your education right. Okay. Get your education right first before you make a decision around it. How can we help you with that education? If we think that another competitor is better for them, we will. I mean, I got something the other day for a presentation. And the first thing I said was, there was a lot of people there. Something on LinkedIn came up. Who can do a presentation on this topic? And I went, well, look, if it's about this topic, then I'm the person for it. But if it's about all the other stuff that you might want, but you might not want, then I can guide you in the right direction for the person that's right for you. Yeah. Because it makes no difference to me. What I want to see is that person gets a result, not just get a sale, see the outcome. Yeah. So the actual thing we was questioning was a 1-day workshop thing. In all honesty, I don't think 1-day workshops ever fucking work. I've been on hundreds of 1-day and weekend workshops with some of the top people in the world. And guess what? That did not lead to a result. What led to a result was the mindset shift around it to go on a journey of wanting to learn more about that topic. And then consistent check-ins. Yeah. So this is why I went down the route of, I believe that if someone's going to change, it's not from one intervention. It's from the environment. So if I can become a part of their environment, the interventions start to happen more often and people become adapted to that environment. It's like saying, I'm going to take an Eskimo, or let's use a different example. Let's say I can, I'm going to take a shark and throw it into a desert for an hour and see how it gets on. Yeah. And then when it goes back into the ocean, if it ever survives, of course, I know it would, you get the point. You throw it back into the ocean. It hasn't learned anything other than, oh, that was a nice taster of that, but I'm still a shark. Yeah. It doesn't adapt that way. Think about evolution. It evolves due to its environment. So the environment needs to be right in order for people to change. Okay. So why am I saying this? Because you need to recognize exactly what you're up against. Now, when you're speaking to somebody, how does this start to help you? I'm going to give you some extra steps as well of what you start to do in that process and how that starts to look. You see, the process should always be around, how do you get someone from A to Z? Okay. First of all, you need to understand what Z looks like for them. Why do they want to achieve Z? Okay. Are they that driven by it? So here is some psychology stuff that you can use, not hacks, but the psychology of humans. Yeah. Everybody has a driver. Everybody is driven to do something. Yeah. By some driver. Okay. So for instance, if your apartment or home is a mess and you are about to throw a party or have some friends come round and it's been a mess for a long time, there is a different driver there now to want to get it right. Okay, because you don't want people turning up into a messy environment, etc. If you have children and the place is a shithole at the end of the day and your home is an absolute mess, talking from experience, by the way, my wife will never actually leave anything a mess again because she wants to have a happy environment that the kids can come down to in the morning, and also it's for her own peace of mind. So there's always a driver there. So the psychology there is that she wants everything right. Yeah, she doesn't want to live in a messy environment. So there's a driver. Now, if it was an even bigger task where let's say you've got to decorate a home, yeah, you can easily put that off. We call it moving right in the diary. Okay. Everyone wants to move something right in the diary because there's a pain point where that driver becomes so painful. Yeah. And that pain could be because they see a better future by solving that pain, or the pain has just become so bad that they now have to do something about it. Yeah. That driver is always there of solving that pain point. So for you as a salesperson, it's not your job to like probe and poke that pain. It's your job to remember that humans go from state to state to state. And the state that when they first contacted you, that pain or need, the driver, was really important back then, but not as important anymore. So as a salesperson, we need to remind them, look, this pain does not go away unless you start to solve this problem. And I'm here to show you the different options because I've worked with multiple people before that have solved this problem. Here's an example. The house needs decorating, like I just mentioned, right? What options have you got? Well, I can go and buy some paint and a brush. Great. Is that going to really solve the problem? Well, the actual problem was getting the house decorated, not buying the fucking paint and the paintbrush. So what happens then is that person, even though they may have paint and a paintbrush, has it got the house decorated? Well, as a salesperson, you want to figure out, well, why do you want the house decorated? Well, it's because I need to sell it. Why do you need to sell it? Because the house that we've got now, we could live a whole new potential of a better life if we had another one. Okay, what sort of life would you live if you had another house? Well, if we had another house, then our kids would be able to run around in a bigger garden. Okay, running around in a bigger garden is important to you then? Well, yeah, because as a kid, I used to run around in a big garden and we had all these things and there's climbing frames and there's all sorts of stuff and the kids' smiles on their face is really important to me. Ah, okay. How often do the kids smile? We're going deep now, right? This is the emotional part of it. Well, they smile quite often, and I want to make sure that I'm there more often and enjoying these times with them. Ah, okay. So having the garden would fix that, right? Yeah. What else would bring a smile to your kid's face more often? You see, it wasn't about decorating the house anymore. It's about the kids' smiles, logic and emotion. Now, they both needed logic and emotion because the logic is, well, I've got to get the house decorated. But the problem is, things get in the way, move right in the diary of why that house needed decorated in the first place. Yeah. But when you remember this, here's a killer question for you. How long are your kids going to be around for? Think about that one. How long are the kids going to be around for? What do you mean, Lewis? Well, people don't get younger, they get older. Even my 4-year-old right now, when she was 3, I look back at pictures, and even though it seems like the same child every day, totally different kid. Totally different kid. And then when they reach 16, 17, 18, they're leaving home. Yeah. Well, 21. Well, if in the UK, they don't leave till fucking 30 nowadays. But you get the point, right? They will only be that age for a while. And you putting things off, moving it right in the diary, time doesn't stop. The kids are always getting older. What else is there? Time doesn't stop for your age. You're always getting older. More problems seem to happen. I mean, just look at the way the world is right now. Yeah, I'm not going to go down there, but you can see the point. We've gone from decorating a house now to some stuff that's pretty emotional to people, right? And I'm pretty sure that you could be thinking of things that start to happen in your life that you never thought would fucking pop up. So the actual thing here is time. Yeah. Now, as if you're so caught up about this bullshit thing in your mind about being a salesperson, just remember that story like I just told you. And remember that you're not a salesperson. You're helping somebody to change their life. Oh, Lewis, that sounds so corny though. Yeah, but it sounds corny because you just haven't put it into context yet. Okay. The reason I do this podcast, it's Monday morning now. I have plenty of stuff to do with lots of other businesses, but I do this podcast because you guys need fucking selling on the A player level, the 100K club. If you don't have 100K, which is becoming the norm, the basic level now that you need to earn £100,000 a year if you want the holidays that you want with everybody, if you want the home that you want, if you want the vehicles that you want, if you don't want a life of debt and borrowing money at fucking 6% interest, 9% interest, 12% interest on the vehicle that you want, you better start learning how to get these sales skills better so you can start becoming a better A player and earning more money as well. That may be really salty for some people to take on board. However, it's the reality. The world revolves around time. Yeah. Time does not stop. If you want more time, then you need to pay for it to get your time back. Because as an A player, guess what? You're only getting busier. Lewis, you just give me a lot more stuff to do. Great. Time. Time is the currency, not money. 100K club, really, it should be called the 100-hour club, right? Bring those time down. Bring that time down. And the only way you do that is through leverage. And guess what? People won't do it for fucking free. You need to pay for it. So no matter what you're doing, you need to think about this financial aspect around it. And if you're going to see finances arrive to you, or to your team, or to your business, or to your customers, or the clients that you serve, then they need to be aware of great sales. Yeah. And look, here's another thing as well. If you're working with a customer that understands sales and you're authentic, like the stuff that we spoke about today, then they will see that you share similar values and you resonate with them. For me, if someone's a good salesperson and doesn't use stupid fucking lines like, Lewis, have you given up on this? Yeah. If they're a good salesperson, I'll be like, this person is genuine and really gets it. Yeah. But as soon as an essence of bullshit, like, Lewis, have you given up on this? I like, hold on a minute. That person is just grabbing something and following a script here. Be authentic about it. There's no need to follow all these stupid hacks and things that you see on YouTube and Instagram. Now, there is one more final piece. I know I said the last one was the final piece, but there is one more final piece. Consistency. Yeah. Resilience is going to be a big part of your sales journey. Whether you start to believe from Uncle Bob that you shouldn't do sales because salespeople go for an early heart attack, or salespeople are bad, don't do sales, or oh, you never mess him, he's just a salesperson, he's just a shifty salesperson. Yeah, there are shifty salespeople out there. They're the most of the people that you're following on Instagram. Yeah. What you want to do is figure out the art of sales, not the hacks of sales, the art of sales. Get into it, get into the habit. But the driver, remember we talked about drivers, the driver needs to be, for you guys as salespeople or anybody that is learning sales skills, is that what sort of life could having better sales skills do for me? It's like people will hate a sales trainer, but they will love an FBI negotiator. Yeah, people love the FBI negotiator, but they hate the salesperson. What do you think the FBI negotiator is? It's just enclosed as a different thing. Yeah, they're selling, but on a higher stakes, aren't they? Lives are involved. Okay, but the higher stake is that lives are involved, and they must do something within 24 hours, or those people start to die. Yeah, for a hostage negotiator, let's say. But in making a decision on a new purchase to, let's say, it could be to buy something new for your business, a new machine, or hire a new person, or let's say take somebody else on. Okay, to make that decision, just go, oh, okay, well, we'll be okay for another week, another 2 weeks. Yeah, because there's not 24 hours or someone dies. So the stake isn't there. So the driver isn't as much. But when you treat it as though this is a life or death situation and I must move forward, Yeah. Someone could make a purchase decision and it could take them 24 months before they actually pull the plug. Yeah. And then if you think about it, in that 24 months, there's over 100 weeks. If you was to make a purchase decision every week, even if it was the wrong one, yeah, because nothing is reversible, you can always go back. Even if it was the wrong decision, one, what would you learn by that decision? And two, what sort of things would change by that decision? So either way, you're moving forward by making a sales decision, whether it's a yes or a no. And it's okay to say no as well. Yeah. It's either a win-win or a no deal. Win-win or no deal. Yeah. No lose-win or no win-lose. Win-win or no deal. If you do the decision and you do over the next 2 years, you had 100 odd weeks, and every one of them you made a big decision like that, where do you think you would be in 2 years' time? I'm going to leave you with that question just to think about right now and reflect on that, of how your purchasing decisions are made and how you perceive sales, because how you perceive sales will determine your success.